it tears me down, because I think about as a child when we had fire drills and tornado drills, and they taught us, crouch down and cover your head. And I remember we would have these routine drills, and I really believed that a tornado was going to come.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John never wants to follow. Get ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
It is the BJ Show. I am Brad. He's John, a.k.a. the tornado of what's going on in the state of Missouri. Cori Bush was saying that about you. Did you know that, John?
I thought that was Jasmine Crockett.
No, that's Cori
I thought
Bush.
that was the other brains. There's a triumvirate, Maxine, Cori, and Jasmine, and they're all kind of the intellectual powerhouse of this region.
You watch. I think Cori Bush is going to go back to the House. I think she's going to beat Wesley Bell. I really do. You don't think
it's not outside the realm of possibility?
Because, that's what we need to represent us. Interesting. Maybe we'll talk about this. No, we can't talk about this in C Block.
No, you could talk about it in B Block, though.
No, I got important things. No, seriously. I have something very important that involves you.
Wow, that's fun,
in
Brad.
B Block. That is John Combest, Combest. I spell his name because of the fact you need to put in his web address in your whatever your browser you use, Safari or your iOS or your desktop or
Netscape.
Android, whatever.
I'm a big Netscape guy.
Netscape, or how about AOL? JohnCombest.com. And the reason for that is every single day of his life he puts together this incredible site. By the way, John, I was reading this interesting history factoid about cities that have dissimilar situations, and you know what's different between Wuhan, China, and Las Vegas, Nevada?
No idea.
What happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. How about that, John?
Oh, that's good, Brad. That's a good one. I like that one. I'm going to steal that one. I'll give you credit.
Okay. Anyway, John puts together this incredible website every single day where he chronicles all these important facts and stories and info things that you should know about. It's on his website. Nothing fancy. You go there, johncombest.com. You'll see a bunch of different links. You find the things that are interesting to you. You click on it. It'll take you to that particular website, which will give you more information. Now, what we do is, on this show, the very first thing we do in A Block, we never chat, we never go off topic or anything like that. Never, ever,
Or
ever.
interrupt ourselves. We never interrupt ourselves. By the way.
John, you know what happened yesterday? Okay.
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay. We start off the show with this guy.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And he puts together the framework for John's top three by saying things like,
In third place,
I am going to ask you for your immediate reaction to a headline. So hold off on shoving a little Debbie in your mouth. The headline from St. Louis Public Radio: illegal alien arrested for public drunkenness kills himself in jail. Brad, are you surprised that St. Louis Public Radio would write a headline that direct?
Of course, because of the fact that they're pro-illegal alien. That's all there is to it, right?
Yeah, I would be surprised by that too. That's not the headline you'll see on St. Louis Public Radio. It is a headline you'll see on johncombest.com today. As you know, I like to take headlines from mainstream outlets, and when they bury the lead, I like to tighten it up a little bit, provide a little bit more context. The actual headline from St. Louis Public Radio today, and reporter Brian Munoz, he's going to be unbiased about this topic, I know. A second man dies in ICE custody at a Missouri detention center. If you were to scan the headlines and see a second man dies in ICE custody, would you think maybe something nefarious was going on?
Yeah, he got beat up, or the guards did something to him, or he had...
Or the guards neglected him, right?
Right. He had a medical situation. They didn't take him to the hospital, that kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely. And especially as part of the headline, a second man dies. Now, I want to be clear here, and I think 99.9% of our listeners, Brad, would agree with us that this is, anytime someone ends their life, it's a tragic situation. This man had a family. I don't know the extent to which he had, any kids, anything like that, but it's obviously a horrible situation. This gentleman's name was Leo Cruz Silva. He's originally from Mexico, and he was arrested. He was being detained by Festus police at the end of last month for public intoxication. He was transferred to ICE custody on October 1st and sent to the St. Genevieve Detention Center 2 days later. He, in what appeared to be a decision to end his own life, he was found unresponsive in his cell on October 4th. Munoz goes on to say that this is the second reported suicide in ICE custody in Missouri in recent months. There was another gentleman named Brian Garzon Rayo, who was a 27-year-old Colombian who went to the Phelps County jail while he was detained of presumption of being an illegal, and he ended his own life there as well. So this is a minor case study, maybe another data point of how you can take a tragic event, and which is horrifying to everyone involved, including the guards who would have found this man deceased, and somehow make it seem as though it's the problem of ICE agents that a man chose to end his own life.
Okay, so I'm still a little unclear. Do they have conclusatory, is that a word? Conclusive evidence?
I don't know. I mean, they say he was found unresponsive. Munoz reports it appears to be a suicide. Jail staff attempted CPR, and so paramedics arrived, but neither group was able to revive him. It did not say the method with which he apparently ended his own life.
And he didn't know Mr. Epstein then, correct?
As far as I know, yeah. There's a gap in some of the video. It's kind of like the Nixon tapes. There's a gap in the video, and then it's like, I don't know, we just accidentally erased it.
Yeah, what was her name? Something Wood? Where
Rosemary. No, Wood is the name of that Taylor Swift song we're going to talk about later.
No, Rosemary.
So we don't mean to make light of this, Brad. I would like to point out that these sort of headlines are particularly grating because you read a headline and you think, oh, as you said, ICE beat the heck out of this poor Mexican, when in reality he chose to end his own life.
John, just a little bit of footnote here, and for those of you who don't know this, in the St. Louis area, the federal government has no detention area. They have no detention place, like a state or federal prison or something like that. And just like I learned from Sean Hayes, if you're in federal custody, they have agreements with, and what's interesting is not necessarily in the immediate metro area, because Sean Hayes was held in the Warren County Jail, which is about 60 miles from downtown St. Louis. If if they're transporting him back and forth to federal court, and that's why he ended up in St. Genevieve, because I know that St. Genevieve, I believe St. Genevieve County has an agreement with the federal government as well too to house federal prisoners. So that's why he ended up in St. Genevieve.
Yeah, and I think Sean pointed this out to you, but if they really wanted to torture him, they'd send him to the Warren County Assessor's Office. Brad, they treat you like a king there. But from what I understand, they're difficult with other people. By the way, next time you pay me, I don't want a little bit on one card and a little bit on a check. Brad, you got to pay the whole thing with one method of payment.
John's referring to the fact that I had a little run-in with, what's her name? I can't remember her name. But anyway.
Mary Jo Kopechne.
No, the collector in Warren County, where I showed up to pay my real estate taxes in August, and I had a money order, and the only problem is the money orders, they only let you get up to $1,000, at least my bank, $1,000 money order. And I had the rest of it in cash, and she wouldn't accept it. I couldn't do, she says, no split payments. I go, no, hold on. I got a money order, and I got the cash. You add one and the other, and it pays my taxes. No, I'm sorry, you can't accept that. Okay, whatever.
Hey, you know what? It's not the Aldi checkout lane. You can't split the payments. And also, I think next time, because you've probably seen this in the Warren County Charter, if you're coming from any area in which Lewis and Clark set up camp, like they did at your transmitter site, you can use wampum as legal tender. John,
I've got a great line, but I don't know if I should use it. Should I use it or not?
Is it a drop?
No, I'm going to say something, but
okay, I'm waiting for it.
You may not get it because you brought up a name that I'm going to use for Warren County. Okay.
Oh, Mary Jo Kopechne.
No, you know what the difference between Warren County and Aldi's is?
What's that?
In Warren County, you don't have to pay for the bags.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that lady that helped you was an old bag?
I didn't say that. Okay, we ready for number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Up a notch to number 2.
Oh, yeah. From straight out of Franklin County, Washington, Missouri, to be exact. Christopher Parker, he's an intrepid reporter. He's done a lot of great work on that Missouri DNR story, by the way. This time he's covering state government. Brad Banderman, a state rep from St. Clair, he's given it to us straight. He's tired of hearing sanctimonious Democrats say, well, you wouldn't see us doing this. If we were in charge of a map, we would be fair to Republicans. No, Brad Banderman knows that that's bunk. He says, quote, I think if the shoe was on the other foot, I have no doubt that the Democrats would divide some of the cities and counties that would be advantageous to them. Representative Banderman describes redistricting as a, quote, inherently political process. Now, Mr. Parker does a good job of pointing out that redistricting will indeed affect the Franklin County area. So now, for example, there were areas in South St. Charles County that belonged to Ann Wagner, that were in Ann Wagner's district. And now St. Charles is completely in the 3rd congressional district. So now it's completely in the territory of Bob Onder. And then Brad, let me point out here, hold on. Parker points out the new map adds the neighboring counties of Gasconade, Crawford, and Washington, and part of Jefferson County to the 2nd district. It moves Warren and St. Charles counties wholly into the 3rd district. So I wanted to make sure that we got that officially right. Now, here's the final quote that Parker uses from Banderman. The idea that they, being Democrats, would not do that, redistricting to their advantage, were in charge, I think, is a very weak argument. So here is Brad Banderman saying, Democrats, just take your sanctimoniousness and go somewhere else with it. Look at what you guys did in Illinois. Look at what you've done in other Democrat states. This is a partisan process. Get over it.
I was going to say, Mr. Banderman says the Democrats would put together fair maps, but not in Illinois, because you
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's Brad's point.
Yeah, you and I have discussed that because that was the Randy Raley thing, because of the fact that matter of fact, you did that live on the air where you actually saw the map, and even you went, "Oh my God, this is."
Yeah. It was. I think in borderline tawdry referred to it as a Grafenberg district. Like it looks like a finger. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
It looks like it's doing a little come hither moment to the inner wall. You know what I'm saying, Brad?
What's weird about that is that district, and what's her name? I always forget, the one that Randy was going to run in, but he dropped out. What is that? What's her name? Mary Hill? I always get her name wrong.
I think it's who's the Monterey lady that's on Camo X? Debbie Monterey. Monterey. It's not the Debbie Monterey district. It's the Mary Miller district.
The Mary Miller district. Okay, and just to give you an example, that district goes from the Mississippi River, which is the western boundary of Illinois, all the way to Indiana. And then it's got this bizarre little, as John calls it, the finger going up from like the Metro East area up through Springfield. And it's just bizarre. It's like, okay, who put this together? I mean,
it's like they're going up a road or a highway or some geographic landmark.
You know what?
And saying, okay, we want this neighborhood. We don't want that neighborhood.
Right, exactly.
We want these people without the HOA. We want these people with the HOA.
John, it reminds me of my buddies, the farmer boys, down in the village of Three Creeks. And when they put together their little village down there, my 8 acres of the crap transmitter site is an island now, unincorporated island in Warren County, surrounded on all sides by the village of Three Creeks. Because you know why they didn't want me in their group, John?
Why is that?
I'm not a farmer. So that you're talking about discrimination.
Yeah, that's true. And if they looked at the length of your grass and how long you keep it, they would think you might be growing some sort of hay.
John, because my lawnmower burnt up and I don't have another lawnmower down there. But that's a whole nother story. Okay, you ready for number one?
Yeah, let's do it.
The number one.
This piece is brought to us by the Missouri Independent and Rebecca Rivas. She is their dedicated cannabis specialist. She's been all over the story for a long time. She gives herself credit in the story for being all over it for a long time. The headline: Missouri lawyer for cannabis trade group behind contracts tied to revoked licenses. I probably could have read that with a better emphasis on certain words. However, Her point is the Missouri lawyer who's in charge of Mo-Can Trade, I shouldn't say in charge of, who works with Mo-Can Trade, which is the industry cannabis group. Some people would criticize them and call them big cannabis. He's behind the contracts that the state is looking at and saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. These contracts with these minority business owners are actually predatory. Now, you and I have discussed this on the show before, Brad, but it's probably time that we go back and do a little recap here. This gentleman's name is Eric Walter, and as Rivas describes him, he's a St. Louis-based attorney who represents the Missouri Cannabis Trade Association and a significant percentage of the state's cannabis licensees. He wrote 22 agreements the state believes would take the microbusiness licenses out of the hands of eligible applicants and put them in the hands of well-connected, out-of-state cannabis investors, according to the administrative appeal case documents obtained by the Independent. So according to Rivas, in her research of how this goes, you have these micro businesses and these micro business licenses. The state carved off a certain number of these licenses. Why? Because black people were discriminated against in slavery. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, Brad.
That's a new one, John.
Black people, go ahead, Brad.
I said that's a new one. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I know. I figured you had never heard that. You certainly didn't hear it in school, your entire elementary school life. And black people were discriminated against. So what we need to do now is we need to give them a whole lot of licenses because, you know, America's unfair. So we give them these licenses. We carve out the special treatment for African-American business owners. But as it turns out, some white guys will come in, offer them a little contract and say, hey, we'll front you some money. We'll give you a loan. And then if you can't pay it back, it's no problem. We'll just buy you out. Here's how Rivas describes it. The contracts written by Walter gave applicants 2 years to pay back loans that can total up to $2 million. If they couldn't, they'd have to pay a, quote, breakup fee of up to $2.5 million, or, here's the good part, give up ownership or the license transfers to the loan holder. So it's no big deal. We'll front you a whole lot of money, maybe up to $2 million. You got a whole 2 years, pay us back. And if you don't, well, you could pay us $2.5 million, or just let us have the contract back. See, everybody makes a little bit of money. Now, I don't know why people have their maiden form in a bundle about this, Brad. It sounds like a pretty good deal, don't you think?
You know, this whole marijuana thing, you know how I feel about it. It's just kabuki. It's just kabuki, John. That's all there is to it.
The great kabuki. Yeah, his son, the great Muda, too. It's almost as if Brad Hildebrand would vote for something put forth that says, hey, we need a single market. You're a hemp guy? Go grow your hemp. You want to grow some backyard cannabis? Grow it up and sell it yourself.
Or is my favorite, one of my favorite terms that John uses, ditchweed, which always...
A little ditchweed, yeah. You
me
probably
up.
found some of that down on Howder Shell when you were a youngster there, Brad.
Not me,
so
man.
Here's what I don't get. I know we're over time here, but I'll just point this out. If I worked for Mo-Can Trade, and there's some great people that are affiliated with them, I'm sure there's some very smart people there. I know there's very smart people there. At some point, you got to look at this and say, okay, we have to put that part of the business aside. We have to either sever ties gently, politely, with people that are looking at us as some sort of a rainmaker, because normal people look at this and say, are you kidding me? And I'm not exactly a BLM guy, Brad. I don't know if you've picked up on that in our time together. I'm not exactly a civil rights activist. But if I was, and I was Nimrod Chappelle at the NAACP and others, I'd be like, are you kidding me? We finally got a little bit of an advantage in a market. We got some carve-outs here. And then we got a bunch of white boys coming in with their fancy suits and their briefcases and their contracts. And they're doing, you know what? They're forcing us. Well, I won't use a graphic term, but they're taking advantage of us. Like, I would be pretty mad about it if I was a, black fist in the air kind of guy.
So you said BLM, Bureau of Land Management. Was that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I'm a Bureau of Land Management. And in fact, I put a headdress on And people say, "Are you a showgirl?" And I say, "No, that's C Block. I'm just an engine."
Okay, John, can I make a crazy weird, and I always do this crazy weird things. Okay, give me, first off, Rebecca Rivas, what was her title again? What did she said?
She's officially, I think they describe her as, let me bring it up. They describe her as it just says she covers Missouri's cannabis industry. So she's in charge of covering cannabis.
You know, that makes sense because she interviewed me recently. And she kept,
oh, did she?
Oh, yeah.
And Brad, did she say anything about you having a brain?
No, no, you're heading on the wrong direction with that. She would interview me. She'd ask me a question, and she'd say, "Oh, hold on a minute," and I hear this weird sound. I heard this.
Yeah, you'd hear like bubbles of a bong, right?
I hear bubbles in the background. Okay, we can keep going. Okay, the second thing is and I'm going to say something that may be controversial, but think about this for a minute. This whole deal with the carve-out is because of how the blacks have been treated, correct?
Yeah. You know, the crimes are prosecuted in more than the white man.
Okay, then why don't we have carve-outs for the Jewish people? Because they're still mistreated. There's still groups
and, excuse me, what about the Asians, Brad?
Yes, exactly. The Asians who were not let into Harvard because of the fact that they were Asians. I mean, and not only that, go back a couple decades or maybe a century or so. The Irish people who were discriminated against because they were Irish.
My fellow mix.
Right,
we
exactly.
were treated terribly.
Exactly. Okay. Boy, I got a banger of a top three.
Oh, I can't wait to hear
it, John,
Brad.
I'll give you a hint. You're not going to believe. You're going to be amazed that.
Okay, I'm ready. What's the hint?
There's a very important person who is the subject of the top three, and it could even be number one. You ready for this, John?
I'm going to warm up my singing voice.